This is The Island, and I am your host, Alvis Samuel, and welcome. And I want to start today's show off with a story. And with this story, I need everyone to imagine themselves in this position. So if you need to close your eyes, if you're driving, don't do that. Don't close your eyes. No wrecks out there. I don't want y'all having a wreck because I'm telling you to close your eyes. So if you're driving, don't close your eyes. Pay attention to the road. But if you're not, try to envision yourself in this situation. Okay? You're working. You are at work. And every year, you get better and better. You have employees who are under you, and they get better and better every year you are at your job. Lo and behold, you still end up getting fired. And it's not because of your performance. It's not because you were late, because you were never late. You were always early, on time. You had a tight fit schedule, and you demanded everything from your employees, and they gave you everything that you demanded of them. And they improved every day because of you. But yet you end up getting fired. And with this firing, it comes out that your boss, the person over you, was offering you, let's just say, monthly bonuses. And these bonuses were only for if your production numbers for your team and your employees got worse. Let's just say he said if for every point it goes down, he would give you a $5,000 bonus every time. Every time a point drops, you get another $5,000 bonus, and that's what they're going to do. That's what your boss is going to do. However, you, being a person of great integrity, refuses to go that route. And you keep your employees, the morale up. You keep them performing at a very exceptional level, and they get better continuously, but yet you still wind up getting fired. Just think about that for a second. And then after you get fired, you wait a while, you sit back, wonder, what did I do wrong? How can I improve? And you weigh these things out. Then you get an interview to go work for another job. Basically same position. You'll have employees under you. And on your way driving to this interview, you get a text from a buddy. And that friend goes, "Hey, awesome job." This is what this text reads. "Awesome job. Congratulations on the new hire." And then you text your friend back, "What are you talking about? I'm on my way right now to my interview. I haven't even done my interview yet. How did I already get the job?" And your friend texts back, "Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to text this person." And then as you're driving to this interview, you're wondering to yourself, what's going on? So you pull up, get out of your vehicle, go in the office, and you have this interview. The interview goes great, actually. Then you leave. And then the very next hour, it comes out that another person got the job. And it was another person that has almost the exact same name as you. Let's say your name is Steve or Ashley, whatever. And your friend who texts you said congratulations for the job. And then you're starting to wonder to yourself after this interview, hey, quick question. You decide to text your friend. Who were you sending that message to? And then your friend goes, well, I was sending it to Steve Jordan. And your last name is not Jordan. Your last name is Fields. Or your last name is, Fields. Or your name is Ashley Fields or Ashley Jordan. And whatever, the both names are the same. As in the first names are the same, but the last names aren't. And your friend is like, yo, I'm sorry, this is who I was meaning to send that text to. And then you're like, hold on, but they also just got the job basically right after I did my interview. How did you know they had the job before I even went for this interview? And your friend tries to, placate it a little bit, and was like, oh, it was a mistake. I should have never sent it out. I'm sorry, things like that. And so now you're driving home, wondering to yourself, okay, you're wondering to yourself, I got fired from a job that honestly, you probably should have never got fired from. And then I'm on my way to another interview for another job, and basically they've already hired somebody. So are they just wasting my time? You see, I'm pretty sure a lot of you out there would be highly upset in that type of scenario. Rightfully so, you should be upset because you performed excellently at one job and still got fired because you weren't losing enough. You weren't being horrible enough. You were actually outperforming what your boss thought you would be doing. So in your mind, you're thinking, my boss wanted to fire me already. It had nothing, he wanted to fire me. So he wants me to have a horrible production. So he has an excuse to fire me. And to make me want to try to have a horrible production, he was offering me bonuses for the worse I become. But because of my integrity, or your own integrity, you have great integrity, you don't go that route and you keep everything going and performing well. Little did you know that was going to cost you your job. And then you go on this other interview and it comes out that they basically already hired somebody. So they're basically now wasting your time. Two basically different companies, one wanting to get rid of you just because they had no reason. They are just wanting to get rid of you. And the other one is they are just wasting your time. You see, this exact scenario happened in the lovely league we like to call the National Football League to the former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, Brian Flores. He got the can. He got kicked out. He got fired from being the head coach of the Miami Dolphins because, honestly, no one knows. No one can give you a real reason on why the owner of the Miami Dolphins wanted to fire and did eventually fire Brian Flores. But what has came out is that he offered Brian Flores $100,000 he would give him for every loss that he had. So every time he would lose a game, he would get $100,000. So why is this owner trying to give incentives to the head coach for losing? Well, that's because he was doing everything else correctly, and he was not bringing bad publicity to the team, nor were the players responding to him in a negative way. The players were actually wanting to play for this head coach, Mr. Brian Flores. And he coached for the team for a few years. And every year, the Miami Dolphins were getting better and better. So how are you going to fire a person who's improving themselves and their employees all at the same time? You can't. There's no real explanation on firing this person. There are none. So he was trying to incentivize him to lose more games, so that way he had not had an incentive, but he had a reason. The NFL owner of the Miami Dolphins had a reason to fire Brian Flores. However, Brian Flores had great integrity, and he won as much as he could win and improved as much as he could. Still got fired. Wasn't good enough. And then, after he got fired, he goes to an interview for the New York Giants head coaching job. And on his way to this interview, he gets a lovely text from Bill Belichick. We all know who that guy is. He's the New England Patriots head coach. He gets a text from him basically congratulating him for getting the job. And Mr. Brian Flores was like, yo, I haven't had the interview yet. What are you talking about? Long story short, the New York Giants ended up hiring another guy named Brian, not Brian Flores, but some other guy named Brian, as their head coach. And Bill Belichick spilled the beans a little bit too early. Too early. So basically, Mr. Flores already knew that he wasn't going to get the job on his way to this interview, but still had a great interview. Again, showing his own integrity, you know? And so now Brian Flores, rightfully so, is highly upset. Rightfully so. And he's suing the NFL and a few teams for what has transpired to him about him. Rightfully so. And I'm pretty positive when it all plays out, he's going to win. But why did all of this happen? Because the NFL has this rule called the Rooney Rule, where every owner or every team has to at least give an interview to one minority candidate. Regardless, if you already know who you're going to hire, basically you're going to waste time. Basically. Now, I get the intentions of this rule. The intentions of the rule is go out there and give people a chance to, at the very least, impress you enough that you might want to rethink the person you're going to hire. But more times than not, it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out that way. It doesn't. And actually, since this rule has been into effect, we can count the number of minority head coaches in the league right now. It's only Mike Tomlin. Only one. Hell, the Raiders interim head coach is not even going to get he's not even going to get the chance to be the head coach. And it wasn't the fact that the team got horrible. They actually got, in my mind, better with all the turmoil that the Raiders were going. You know, the actual head coach of the Raiders, he basically gets fired, even though he's saying he resigned, but he basically gets fired. Then a couple of weeks later, some guy goes to jail. Then a couple of weeks later, your number one wide receiver, he gets drunk, crashes, kills two people, and that dude's now in prison. A lot of things are going on, and your interim head coach brings the team together and gets the team in the playoffs. He doesn't even get to keep that job. So what is the real point of this rule if these owners are basically still going to do whatever it is that they want, and they're truly not going to give a person of minority descent an actual chance to get the job? Think about that. Just think about it. I don't want to make this into a racial, ethnic conversation. I don't. Because there's a lot of times where that doesn't even, come into play. I can tell you of a story, true story, just like Brian Flores' story, true story of something that happened to someone very dear to me, someone that I love very much, obviously my wife, for a promotion that she was going up for. She was qualified for the job, had a interview went pretty good. Obviously, and I'm not saying this because I feel like she should have got the job. I'm saying this because what the company did, instead of promoting somebody, because they were, giving all these interviews to promote somebody, instead of that, they made a lateral move. That way, they don't have to give someone else more money. And you might think, oh, well, that means that the person that made that lateral move, that opened up a position over there. Actually, no, it did not. They actually just shut down that position and closed it. They're not going to promote anybody to that position. They deem that operating area had too many supervisors, so they're going to move one over, do a lateral move. So why would they give people interviews to promote them, basically wasting their time? I told her, they just want to go through a promotion process to see how good some people are when they go up for promotion, when they interview them for these promotions, so that they know, okay, this is going to be our next person. But in all reality, let's be honest, they were just wasting time. Reason I know this because I also work for this job. Let's just be honest about it. And I eventually told my wife they were just wasting time. They were basically dangling a carrot out in front of people, and they already knew that they were going to make a lateral move. Because if they were going to actually promote somebody, they would have actually promoted somebody, period. It wouldn't have been a lateral move. Like, let's be honest. And plus, the person who got the lateral move, basically, they're iffy on the position. But, it's here nor there. I don't care so much. But this goes on in our everyday lives also, where companies, not just these athletic leagues, departments, teams, clubs, they already know what they're going to do before they give someone an interview. They know who they're going to hire before they give someone an interview. So why are they wasting time? Why are they acting like, oh, you have a chance? And honestly, you really don't. You have no chance. There are some people who know this, in the case of Brian Flores, and they still have great integrity and go out there and do the best that they can do. They still do. There are some, that they know they have no chance. So when they go out there, they just joke around with it, They just have fun with it because they already know I'm not going to get it. I don't even know why y'all asked for an interview because y'all already hired somebody. I'm not going to get it. So let me just have a little fun with this, Some do that. So why does this keep happening in not just in the sports world, but in our everyday life? Think about that question because I got one more to tell you. One more story. And this is very similar. However, the person conducting these interviews that's going to make these promotions happen or hire someone for this position truly came out and said that they want a specific type of person. They said this even before they even got their position. Some of y'all might know who this person is. Hopefully everybody knows who this person is because he is the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden. Man, before he even became the President of the United States, he said his own words, if a position for the Supreme Court becomes available, he is going to hire and put in that position the first black woman that the Supreme Court has ever had. Now, let's just stop right there. If any job on the face of the United States, in this great country, any job came out before a position was made public for people to apply for, and they came out and said, we only want this specific sex and this specific race. And if you are not this specific sex or race, good luck. We're not even going to look at you. We're not going to look at you. We're only going to look at this specific type of person. And that race and that sex has nothing to do with real qualifications and real requirements of the position that will make the position better for everybody. Has nothing to do with that, but has everything to do with Mr. President of the United States, now the President of the United States, Joe Biden, wanting to just make history. That's all he wants. He just wants to make history. Think about that. And let's go back even more when he was doing his debates, and he promised everybody that if he gets elected, he will also bring on the first African American female or minority descent female to be the vice president of the United States. So he already X'd everyone else out. Now, let's say he already had this person in mind. That was going to be his hire. But why is he coming out and saying things like that? Maybe because he's a little crazy. I don't know. However, I do know this. If that was any other company that publicly would say something like that, they would get wrong from head to toe, backwards and forwards. They would be drugged through the dirt. However, it's okay because the president said it. Even though that's highly illegal in the United States. Highly illegal. Can't do stuff like that. It has to be an equal opportunity for everyone, not just for specific people. And by specific people, I mean by the way you look. If you look like this, then you have an equal opportunity. Don't look like this, you don't have an equal opportunity. I'm saying all this because it goes on everywhere in our everyday lives. And not just in our everyday lives, but in the lives of the sports world. It goes on in their life too. And it's very sad and it's very ashamed. I'm very ashamed of it. I'm astonished on it that people will play games like this with other people's lives. People will promote somebody or only look at one thing, even if that person has zero qualifications for the job. Or they might have all the qualifications, but there might be someone else out there who's more qualified for the job. Because honestly, let's be honest, I don't believe that a person is overly qualified. That never made sense to me. Go on an interview, we're not going to hire you because you're overly qualified. You're really qualified so much that we are just not going to hire you. That doesn't make sense. Every time I've heard something like that, I'm just like, dude, you've already have it in your mind to hire somebody else. You're wasting my time, and you probably have a time limit or something that you have to meet to show that you're being fair. Basically, you're just going through the motions. NFL owners, y'all are just going through the motions. That way y'all don't get sued for, y'all are only wanting to hire whatever type of person. Y'all are only going through the motions. However, guess what? You're now getting sued because somebody caught on to you just going through the motions. Someone caught on to it. Good luck. Good luck. I'm trying to beat this lawsuit. NFL. Sooner or later, someone's going to get mad at Mr. President and say, you are on purposely Xing everybody out unless they look like this. That, sir, Mr. President, is highly illegal. You can't do that. I don't care if it's about time that they get representation. It's about time that someone who looks like them is up here in this type of situation. Look, you can spit it how you want. Say it how you want to say it. However, it's still illegal. You cannot be biased, or we try to say you can't be biased in the way a person looks when it comes to hiring somebody. You can't do that. I don't know what goes on in people's minds. Just for that comment, the president should be impeached. just for that comment. And on top of that, he's literally only looking at black females. If you're not a black female, you're not going to be looked at all. It doesn't matter if you're more qualified. It doesn't matter if you are actually going to do a better job. It doesn't matter, because it's no longer about trying to make everything the best, being the best, having the best company, having the best team. In the United States case, having the best nation. It's no longer about having the best of whatever it is. It's about, let's be honest, it's about wanting to be the first to make history on something, regardless who it affects in a negative way. Miami Dolphins owner. Hey, I hired a black guy as a coach, and he lost a lot of games, so I had to can him. But on the contrary, actually he was winning. He was winning, and he got better every year. So you had to come up with the reason to try to get him to lose. And how'd that work out for you? His integrity was better than yours, Mr. Owner of the Miami Dolphins. That he still was trying to win, regardless if you were going to give him $100,000 per loss. Funny. Funny how that worked out. Then on the other hand, New York Giants, just going through the motions to, hey, we're interviewing everyone, but on the contrary, you already have the person that you're going to hire, regardless if another person's as qualified, if not maybe better, and has more experience and has shown a track record of actually being a winner, a person who's going to get your team to improve every year. You still have somebody else that you're going to hire, so you're just going to bring in this person just for the motions. You're going to go through the motions so you don't get in trouble. But the beans got spilled. The beans were spilled, and you weren't giving this minority candidate a true, chance to get the job. So, with that being said, like I said, or you can just go out on the other hand, where you can act like the president and just say, I only want this specific type of person, and those requirements of this person has nothing to do with qualifications, but everything to do with the way they look. Yeah, it has nothing to do with actually trying to be the best, but everything to do with just wanting to be the first at doing something, or just going through the motions. My mind is boggled when it comes to things like this, because I don't understand it. And to be honest with you, to be 100% honest with you, I don't want to truly understand it. It doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't at all. I would say, if you're going to hire this person, you just say, I'm going to hire this person. This is who I want. Mr. Biden did. However, at the same time, don't come out here and say, I'm only looking at this specific type of person who looks like this. They have to look like this. That is the only requirement that I'm wanting, is they have to look like this. Is the world we live in truly going that way? But like I said this in a bunch of episodes in the past. I've said this multiple times. It's still segregation, no matter how you want to look at it. And it might not be as in this strong to see that you can truly see it, but it's more of segregation of the mind. I've said it multiple times before in the past, and I'm going to say it again now. This is segregation of the mind. Do you think the way I want you to think? Are we all thinking the same way? And it doesn't truly have to be thinking in a way that's going to make things better for everyone. You just got to think like me, and I want you on my team. But if you don't think like me, then go over there. Like it makes no sense. And like I said, I can add in other things in this. We can go with schools right now. There are multiple school districts up and down the country that are doing this right now. They're not segregating off of the color of your skin, but they're segregating off of, get this, is this student going to wear a mask for COVID? That's how they're segregating. They're putting, if you're not going to wear a mask or if you're not vaccinated, it's a child. They're going to put them over here in a room away from everybody. And they're not going to get the same type of education. They're not. They're not going to get it. But they're going to segregate them because they're not wearing a mask. They're not going to teach the child because they're not wearing a mask. They're not going to help the child get educated because they're not wearing a mask. Last I checked, it was a public school district, and it was my taxes or your taxes that was making sure all these kids were going to get an equal type of education. But instead, because the school is running with fear, they want to kick the kid that doesn't wear a mask or isn't going to wear a mask off to the side and not treat them the same and not give them the same education. And they're probably just sitting there with a piece of paper with a pencil, and someone walks by and says, hey, just do this, and walks away. And then the kid gets home and you ask them, hey, what'd you learn today at school? Nothing. I had to sit over here by myself. No one talked to me. No one tried to teach me anything. They said just write some stuff down, and that was it. However, that's the world that we're living in today. Again, the world of segregation of the mind. And I know if you've listened to all of my episodes of my podcast in the past, this is a reoccurring topic because I need people to understand this. This is something that people need to get through in their heads, that people need to know that things are going on that are changing the way we look at people, and it has nothing truly to do with the race, but the way they think. The way they think. That's what it comes down to. Let's be honest. Joe Biden has multiple types of people in his cabinet. However, I can almost guarantee you he would not hire them for his cabinet if they didn't agree with something that they were going to agree with, as in we need to make history. They don't care about making the country better. They just want to be the first. They want to go down in the history. And to do that, they have to hire the first minority black female vice president. Do we really think Miss Kamala Harris is truly qualified for that type of position? I don't know, to be honest with you. I've never really heard of her until, the primaries popped up. And then all of a sudden there's this lady here that I've never heard of. Oh, well, she might have some great ideas. Right now it doesn't look like she does. But, it is what it is. That's also, the same thing with the Supreme Court. Hey, you got to agree with me. We got to think alike. And if not, you can't be part of my team. This isn't really rowing like they say. There's that saying, we all got to row in the same direction. Yeah, but what if the direction we're rowing in is rowing completely off a cliff, down a waterfall, and we're all going to go down to our death? Someone in that boat's going to have to stand up and be like, yo, I get it, you're the boss, but you're going to kill us all and yourself. We need to row this way. Then the boss goes, he doesn't think like us, throw him out of the boat. Get them out of here. So everyone picks them up and throws that person off the boat. Now they're swimming. But hey, at least they're swimming in the right direction by themselves. Unlike everybody who wants to think a certain way, and they're going to think their way to death. But then again, that's the world that we're living in today, isn't it? That is the exact world that we are living in today. It's crazy. It's insane that people can't have different opinions. It's insane that people can't have real arguments and debates on matters to help the country, to truly help. It's insane. And with that insanity, it's going to drive this entire country to ruins. I am your host, Alvis Samuel, and I want to thank you for listening to the Island Podcast.